Get your day started right. From our shack to yours, this is Coffee and Ham Radios. We are live in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are live.
Good morning, everybody. I'd like to thank everybody for joining us today. And we have Colin today from Scotland, right?
Scotland.
Somewhere around that. I don't know. You guys call that the UK still, though, right?
We're still part of the UK, but we're our own little country. We're still Scotland.
They don't want to be. They haven't wanted to be for a long time. But
Yeah.
I think that's holy war stuff, Jim. That's depends who you talk to. Yeah.
I was surprised. I
We
figured
might
y'all
want to
would
go.
have
Might
voted
not want to
for
go
that.
there, Jim.
I'm curious as an outsider.
So
Yeah,
let's
I
go
was-
around
I thought it would
first here.
overwhelmingly pass.
Okay. Tio, what do you got going on? You showed us something
we-
there. Do you want to share that or what?
Are we past the 8-second mark? Are we
Yes,
out of
we're
YouTube
past
jail
8
yet?
Yes, we are.
seconds. We're past 8
Past.
I have this amplifier. This is the OGS 50W, and you can see they can't even
Ampla.
spell their Amplify. They can't even
That's
spell
French.
their own name right. Yeah,
Yeah.
Amplify. It's crap. It's shite.
What do you really think?
Scottish.
What do you really
Very
think,
Scottish.
Tio?
The thing burnt up in the middle of transmitting and went into a short circuit, which if I didn't have a crowbar circuit in my power supply would have destroyed everything that was attached to it. I've already replaced the finals on it. That's not the only problem that it has. And now it won't tune up at all. So I'm still digging. I got tools and crap all over the workbench, and it's been an exciting ride. Thank you, Todd, KR1W. Thank you.
Were the other finals bad, or you just changed them out just to make sure?
One of them was bad, absolute dead short. I put it on a component tester and it came up dead short, and so I replaced that one. The other one's fine, but it only takes one.
It only
Well,
takes
I
one.
tell you, I've had it with the cheap Chinese stuff. I'm ready to throw it all in the
No, you
trash
haven't.
and be done with it.
You're still
Well, what
gonna
I
get
have
more.
seen, and you've got that ATU 100 there. What I have seen is that these things are designed probably pretty okay, but they're assembled by people that don't know what RF is and have never held a soldering iron in their life, and there's no elegance. This is cramped. It's a pain in the butt to work on. It's like working on a modern car trying to change a headlight where you got to take off both front tires and drop the transmission. It's just
Yeah,
ridiculous.
I put that right in the trash.
It's a learning experience. It's fun.
Abe, you want to talk about your Chinese
Thanks,
thing
Todd.
that you have?
So, this is not the one I did the videos on. This is a new ATU 100, and so this morning I said, I better get to working on that.
Thanks, Randy.
So I can do a video, and the power cable that I had was not working, and I figured maybe it wasn't. I was using the cable for my 705, and it's a little bit shorter than the plug on this one. So I said, well, let me make the right cable and see what happens. So I made the cable. Here it is. So looking all good.
That's
And
pretty.
it still wouldn't power up. And I'm like, well, what the heck is going on here? So I broke out the multimeter and I tested the voltage on the back of the plug just to make sure the plug was good. And I got 13.3. And then I tested the voltage down here at the power switch and I got 12.2. Now it doesn't go straight to the power switch. It goes through the board. And but it still wouldn't power up. So then I had to peel all this effing glue off of the OLED to test that. And so here's a spare OLED. By the way, I had to solder the header pins on right before the show. And when I plugged it in, it worked. So
That seems
This
so
one-
good. I like the way you're designed there. It's
Yeah.
sideways so the cables can feed easier, man.
yeah. So I didn't want to take the OLED out in case it was good, but it turns out that this OLED's bad, so now I got to replace that. All before I even turn it on. And it's just
Thanks, Randy.
Just everything.
Randy couldn't get me on the big screen when I was showing something, but took care of Ape. I see how it is. Trying to make Ape feel
I
better.
don't know about it.
There you
I don't know
go.
about Rand.
Not now. Not now. Pick it off. Thank you.
James. What's happened, James? Oh,
3D printing. Ordered a
Don't
new
forget your
3D
cup.
printer. I love 3D printing. I have no reason.
Oh, you
to do
ordered
it.
another one?
I do, but I did.
What did you get?
I ordered the Creality K1.
That's the one in the box, right?
Yeah, it's a Core XY. Yeah, and
Is
it's
it
in-
so is it released yet, or are you on pre-order for that?
It's probably you'd call it pre-order. They're not shipping until May. It's supposed to arrive around the end of May. So
That's cool. That's similar to the one I got. Well, I don't think mine's. I thought mine was that style, but it's
You didn't get
close.
a Core XY, did you? I thought you got a bed slinger.
I thought I did.
A gunslinger.
Because their other model that I thought was the same thing.
Core
is-
XY, the bed just goes up and down.
Yeah,
That's
mine
it.
still moves. But I'll tell you
so
what,
your
it's
bed
a
is
great
going
printer.
like this, back and forth. Yeah, Core XY,
Yeah.
the bed just raises and up, and then the head is XY on rails or a belt system.
Yeah, I like my new one, man. I think it just prints stuff. I gotta buy a new nozzle that I can, because they make you change the nozzles for
Well, I
temperature.
have an unnatural 3D printer interest. I love
You're a
3D
little
printers.
unnatural,
They're
yeah.
just.
How many do you have? Like 5, right?
I only have 4 at this time.
Only for
Because the
What
fifth
did
one
you
hasn't
say?
arrived
because
yet.
The
yeah,
new
the
one
fifth
is
one's
in
not
here.
there.
That's right. I've got a little tiny Delta one that actually works good. It's a mono price, and it's not real. The
Oh, it's
bed's only
tiny,
about that big, and it only prints about yay high. But for little parts and stuff, it works great.
It's fast, right?
Yeah, it's faster than an Ender 3 V2, and it's faster than my longer 3D one.
That's the part they don't tell you when you get into printers is how long it takes to print something.
Yeah, this all used to be dark when I started 3D printing, and now look at all the gray I have from waiting. on
I don't know. I
prints.
think I remember when you started.
Shut up, Chuck. Shut up. You
Jim
big
Jim
stinky
likes to
head.
dream. He can dream.
Right.
Don't steal his dreams.
Okay, I remember how dark it was. Like it was almost jet black 2 months ago.
All right,
We
listen,
do-
guys. Nobody wants to hear you tool bags go draw on. We want to talk to Colin.
Well,
So
we're going to talk
we-
to Colin. I was
We're
going to.
going to hear the other tool bag draw on.
So if you guys don't know Colin, you don't know. Oh, sorry.
Hold up. I got interrupted by you and your stories, Charles, and your 3D printer that's not very interesting as cool as
That's what I'm
mine.
waiting to do.
It's way cooler. Go ahead.
All of the AIOC boards are gone. There's none in the
Shipped.
back. Gone out the door, Whoop. Including some overseas. I've had
Including mine.
inquiries from Germany and Argentina yesterday. Argentina wants a couple of antennas, Charles.
Okay.
He hasn't gotten back to me yet. It's $36 shipping, so he may or may not want them.
That's not too bad. That's not
We
as bad
have-
as Australia.
We have more AIOC parts on order, and I would expect those all to be in within the next 2 to 3 weeks. So keep
You
an
know,
eye.
and them jokers ain't cheap, right? So the thing is like people are like, why didn't you order 1 million of these?
Right.
Because they ain't
Right.
cheap.
We ain't got YouTube. Don't pay that much.
Son, I don't know how
right.
much money you think I'm getting off of YouTube, but it ain't paying the bills. Right. We ordered 100. And for the 100 boards, there's also literally about 1,500 other parts that have to come. Literally 1,500 other parts that have to get involved to send you guys a kit. Plus, I have to 3D print a bunch of parts too.
Right.
So-
That takes time.
Good thing you got 5 printers.
Right. Good thing. Good thing.
Good thing.
Why
Are you
got the
done now?
extra one,
Do we want to introduce our guest now?
please?
Yes.
Jim, is it
You should
okay?
have done that first and let us, go at the end of the show. But
So if you guys do not know who Colin is,
Can't get good
you
help
need to
out
check
there.
out his channel.
Are you tripping?
This guy is super smart. Builds stuff, and when he builds stuff, I mean, I build stuff, and then Colin builds it, and I'm like, shoot, man, he did a nicer job. So I had to step
don't
up
know
my
about
game. I had to step up my game on my last one on my hex beam here. So, but Colin, tell us a little bit about your channel and what you got going on right now.
oh, hold on.
I know. Oh, wait, you got to
Get
dance.
your
first.
dancing shoes, Colin.
TC Fits, thank you, sir.
He needs some milk.
And James, could you throw his site up there for us? So, Colin, I know you're like me. You're an antenna guy. So, tell us what you're working on here recently.
Thanks for having me on again. Really, the YouTube channel is just really about following my obsession on antennas, because that's what it is. I usually just go from one project and it's obsessing about one antenna project to another until I'm happy with that, and then I go into another. So I've always got 3 or 4 projects on the go at the minute. Last year I was big into end-fed half waves. This year I'm actually looking at verticals, but normally we hook up a vertical and just throw in some coax and away we go. But I was wanting to play about with like 5/8 wave verticals, so that's what I'm doing at the minute. So I've made 2 so far. I've made one for 17, and I've made one for 10. I still need to document that and make a video about it, but it's a bit of an alien concept in that your wire is all pre-cut to finished size, and then you need to make the matching unit. So I guess what people would normally do is they would have, like, so a lot of people have these like 43-foot verticals, and they put an auto tuner at the base and use it on multiple bands. Well, that's effectively what I'm doing, but I'm only using it for monoband, and I'm wanting to optimize that for per band, because 5/8 of a wavelength is supposedly the sweet spot for that low angle of radiation. And I'm basically just using something called an LC match to create that antenna and do it very, very cheaply. So there's not a lot of money involved with this, if you've got the tools, that is.
So the 5/8 wave, I learned about those back in the CB days. That's huge in CB. Those guys, I mean, people like look down at CB guys, but like Abe said before, some of those guys have the best audio you've ever heard on a radio. And they're into antennas. They don't have a whole lot of options because they're stuck to one band, so they've optimized as in this. The 5/8 is like super popular on the 11 meter bands, and I'm sure it's going to work good. I mean, you've already done which, I forget, you did 20?
17. No, 17.
17. That's right. Yeah.
Because it's quite a big antenna, it was like 17 was the lowest band I could fit on my 12 meter spider beam and still have the feed point elevated. So if I need to use the 12 meter spider beam, I'll need to put a little extension on the bottom of it somehow for 20 meters, because that's a long antenna, a 5/8 on 20 meters.
That's true. Yeah. Well, 12 meter band will do 40 on a quarter.
Yeah,
barely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But I think I've done experiments in the past where comparing dipoles to ground mounted verticals quarter waves, and generally speaking, where I am, the dipole usually beats the quarter wave vertical, and I think that's just because I've got too much rubbish around about the antenna. I've got the houses, there's trees, there's everything, and then the dipole's in the clear, so it's got a clear takeoff. So the beauty with, and a half wave as well, a half wave vertical and a 5/8 wave, is the current maximum on the antenna is a lot higher up on the antenna, so you're getting a better takeoff. Where if you look at on a quarter wave vertical, the current maximum is right at the base of the antenna, and potentially I think that you're getting this kind of attenuation of the signals coming in and out. So you've got a bonus of actually, you're starting with your signal up here already for the takeoff. But the same could be said for a quarter wave if you get it high enough, but you've got to get it high enough,
Right. So you're working on a 10 meter right now, right?
Callum's DX Commander, the Nebula, that's a 5/8 antenna, right?
No. That's still working off quarter waves and some other funny things, but he actually wanted to make a 5/8 wave for 20, but I remember it didn't work. The SWR was kind of too high. He did try and do that, but because he would have needed to use some sort of matching network, it probably would have thrown everything else out. So I'm not quite sure what he does with that, but there's maybe some links in there, but it's still not a 5/8 because he's not got any matching in there for that.
Gotcha.
So you're currently working on a 10 meter one, right? Did you get that done? How high off the ground are you? How high are you elevating it?
So I think the feed point's up about 4 meters ish. What's that? 20 feet or so. I got my first anyone's seen Twitter today? I got my first QSO on it today, and the only QSO. So I worked over to a guy in India, so that was pretty good. That was like 4,000 miles first QSO. The guy was pretty quiet as well. My hope was to leave up for this afternoon, but I've had to take it down so we could use the yard for other things. But it's working really well. But I just need to get more field testing. But I mean, this is the secret. Is this little box here?
Randy,
come on, Randy.
There we go. If we can get that into focus.
And that's the thing of beauty right there.
Yeah.
Did you hand wrap that inductor on that?
I did, Jim. Yep.
That's
all done by myself. But it's not difficult.
I'd have to pay people to do that.
Honestly, it's not. A little bit of practice, and you can see this little bit of coax here. I'm using this coax as the capacitor.
Oh, that's really short.
Right. Yeah.
So, on one of your videos, I thought you had a variable cap that you put in one of those.
No, I don't know what that would have been on. Maybe I did have something, but no, that's just a little bit of RG142 coax, because I'm only need like 5 puff picofarad, so it's a really, really small value. And to get a capacitor that small, you can't get them, but it was easier just to get a little bit of that coax and use that instead.
And make it, yeah.
It was like when Jim and I made the RF taps, we had to do that. We had to use a capacitance stub like that because the value was so low.
Yep.
I really, really think that that's an impressive box that you built there. And that was a common thing in amateur radio way back in the day, is people would put those LC matches at the bottom of vertical antennas. So I wanted to ask you some questions. Like, how did we talked a little bit beforehand, so maybe you can still explain it, like calculating the induction coil for that, but also the stub, because that's the tricky part of the whole process.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, let's kind of just talk through the process. So first thing you need to do is obviously cut your wire to size. So I just use the standard formula. So it's like 300. I use obviously metric. So I use 300 divided by the frequency, and then I multiplied that by 0.64, because this is actually 0.64 of a wavelength, not 62.5%. So multiplied that by 0.64, and then I just took a velocity factor of 0.95. So that gave me my length of wire. For the radials, this design I'm actually using, it was a design I found online, and it was actually using 0.67 wavelength radials. How much difference that's going to make over quarter wave radials, and bearing in mind they're elevated, I don't know, but use the same formula again. So imagine we've got all our wires cut, measured. We basically need to set this up as an antenna with zero matching. So I just use basically one of these boxes, but with none of this in it. So just the SO239 to the straight connection to the either the radials and the vertical.
Yeah.
And then I hook up my antenna analyzer, and I basically measure the complex parameters. I have somewhere. I have try to find my values here. Yeah. So using the antenna analyzer, I came up with a value of for the resistance of 87.1 ohms and a reactance, an X of minus 319.7. Now, there is a website we could use. I don't know if one of you guys could bring this Fancy Fred's website up. Do you have
it's
that?
Randy's job now. Let Randy do it.
Yo, you gotta plus that up, son. You gotta plus that up, son. It's too small.
Don't you calm down, old man.
I want to learn this stuff.
Right, there we go.
You should know this already. Jimmy yells at you every week.
Well, that's why
Every week.
I don't respond well to authority.
Okay,
That's true.
So on the frequency,
Where's
Jim, do you want to put in 28.5, please?
Please look at that. All polite. See, Abe, that's how you get it done.
Yep.
And the next,
the next set of boxes along. So the ZS. So that one put 87.1, Jim, and the one below that put that minus 319.7. Now leave what you see on the right hand side, because this is what you're matching to. So that by default is 50 ohm coax. Okay. So now hit the calculate. Yeah, there you go. So second schematic down. That's what I built here. This here.
So 5.5 picofarads.
Yep. So there you go. So you can see I've got a capacitor between. Basically, it goes from the ground. So it goes from the ground of the SO239 to the antenna connection point, and then there's the coil that goes between the center of the SO239 that goes to the antenna connection point. So there's basically a coil. There's a coil in series and a capacitor there, shunt. I'm saying that right there. April, keep me right here. So yeah, 1.374 microhenries of inductance and 5.538 picofarad of capacitance. And that's basically what I built. You find that those values, they're never just absolutely spot on, but they're pretty close.
Right.
I've typically found that what a little trick you could do is, ideally, I mean, you can do it by design if you don't have any tools, but I like to use this. This is a little LCR meter. I like this Peak Atlas, but you can get these for like $30, $40, $50, and they'll do exactly the same job. So basically, I just cut a piece of coax, connect up the coax at one end. Obviously, it's open at the other end, and I just start trimming until I get near enough. The capacitance, obviously, the more you take off, the smaller that capacitance is going to get. So if you leave a little bit extra on, it's good to do that. And then you need to basically wind your coil, obviously, which we've got in here. So I'm just using a 1-inch former. and you can use a little online calculator, like 66 Pacific coil calculator. There's a lot of them out there, and you can play about with the parameters just depending on what type of wire you have, what diameter of former that you have. And I like to wind on a couple of different turns. And if you can see there, see how I've got that angled on? Do you see how the turns are not exactly close together? See how there's little bits of spacing in there?
Right.
Now, what I did was I put in a little bit too much inductance. And then what you can do is you can just spread the coils apart a little bit. So when you have the antenna in situ, you can either trim the coax capacitor or just spread the coil, and then you can change the matching a little bit on the fly.
Now, after you get that coil in the neighborhood of where you're looking, do you hot glue it so it doesn't move around?
No, it tends to be pretty solid, Jim. It tends not to move about. If you're using really quite thin wire, then yes, that's a good idea. And that should be what you do. Once you get the coil to where you want it and it's tested fine as an antenna, you should maybe put some hot glue along it, some epoxy or something, and that'll just give you the confidence that it's not going to move if you've got it thrown, getting thrown about in the back of a car.
Of a vehicle. Right.
What gauge is that wire?
That's 14? Thinner stuff than I used. No, this is.
It looks like 18 or so.
18.
It's quite thin stuff. It's 1.12. I think it's about 18 or something. 20 or something. I don't know what that is in 1.12 millimeters. I don't know what that is in old money.
Bought some of the stuff you used on your 17 one just because I'm going to build one eventually.
Yeah, I had some thicker stuff here, which I think was 2 millimeter stuff, and that's probably overkill. It's really quite thick. No, it's just very, very heavy duty, but
right.
But you don't need really, really thick stuff. What you've got to watch is how much voltage is on the capacitor. Now, I don't know exactly how much voltage. You can use another piece of software, SimNEC, which does exactly the same thing as that online calculator, but tells you a lot more parameters. And if you tell it how much power you're putting through it, it'll actually tell you how much voltage you've got at the feed point and how much voltage you've got across that capacitor. So if you're using a fixed value capacitor, at least then you can basically cover that base.
Well, when I build mine for 11, I want to put 5,000 watts through it, so I'm going to overkill it. I want to put it in.
Because that's not legal.
No, it's not legal.
No.
I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
Yeah, but the stuff, the coax I'm using, it's RG142, which is high power coax anyway. So it's got a really nice dielectric on it. So, I mean, I've been using it at 100 watts. I think that's about something like 400 watts AC by the time it goes into the antenna, and it's no problem. But I do want to test it through the ACOM and give it the beans and actually see how it handles. Yep.
Well, you got to give it the beans, right?
Yep.
ACOMs are nice.
Yeah.
So does the coax really matter that much, or what you're using?
Pass. I don't know because I've not tried any others than this. I'd imagine it will, depending on how much power you run. But if you're only going to run 100 watts, I don't suppose it's going to matter that much.
Yeah, for most of my stuff, it would be for portable probably. So
and you don't need. I mean, for the size of the coaxes, you don't need to worry about losses. It's acting as a capacitor anyway, so you don't worry about that. RG58 would even be fine. I think it would be absolutely fine because all you're just trying to prevent is basically the arcing across the capacitor, and you've got that really thick like dielectric insulation between the materials. So I don't think it's going to happen.
Did you put any insulation on the end of that
stuff? Sorry.
Phil's been a member for 7 months. Thank you, Phil.
7 months.
We appreciate it.
Thank you, Phil.
Don't get the 7-month itch, whatever that is.
Thank you, Phil.
Yeah. Some milk.
I know. I feel
work with what you got, Jim.
James is perfect for this because he's not an antenna guy, so he can watch all that stuff really well.
I'm not.
He likes
fascinated
antennas.
by
He doesn't like to
antennas
build
like
them.
you are. I'll buy them and then put them up and then be done with it. I'm done.
But you're right. You're right, Abe. You're spot on, Abe, what you're saying there. I haven't done that yet, but I do that. So basically, because this is just freshly made, you can see I don't have any sealing on the end of the coax. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some of that liquid electrical tape and just give it a little coating, and that'll just give it a little bit of protection, and it gives it a little bit extra weather protection as well. So it's good to do that. So I would recommend do that, but only once you've got it adjusted. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah,
use this in a well-ventilated area.
Absolutely.
It's got some fumes on it. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
I got some of that sitting here. You go.
But that stuff's like magic. I love the electrical
That's
tape.
it. I've got that one. That's the one I've got, Chuck. Yeah, the yellow one. That's the one I've got. It's awesome.
Mine's really old.
But this is the good one. This is the good one. I'm just kidding.
Whatever. The yellow one's the best, man.
So how many of those little matchboxes did you make, going through the testing and development process?
I probably made... I got lucky with the 17 meters. I got very lucky with that. And the fact that it worked the first time, don't ask me why, but it worked. Nice. I just got lucky. The 10 meter one didn't. I tried to be too exact on the 10 meter version. And when I hooked it up, the resonance point was up about 28.8, 28.9, which was just too high. So I thought, and because I'd effectively made the coil not enough inductance and the capacitor was too small, I had to start again. So I had to basically just rip out everything in here and remake it. So hence why I'm telling you, make everything with just a little bit more, and then you can always reduce it back.
It's like when you cut your wire for your antenna, always make it a little
exactly.
bit long.
Exactly. And it's quite curious, this type of match, because you'll keep me right here, Chuck, but on a lot of the CB 11 meter antennas, they use like a tapped coil. So it's a DC short type of antenna, where this isn't a DC short antenna. And those antennas have quite a wide bandwidth, which is good. Right. This antenna won't cover the whole of 10 meters, but then 10 meters is like 1.9. No, it's a huge band anyway. But I'm probably still getting 700 or 800 kilohertz with this antenna. But it's a very narrow curve. It's quite high Q, this antenna. And what I noticed this morning or this afternoon when I was testing it out, it's a really quiet vertical. And I think that's because it's got that really kind of much sharper dip.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that, with verticals being noisy, what the Q was. But when you say 700-800K, that's I mean, that's all of 40, all of 20 if you're But and then
you wouldn't get that in the lower bands, obviously, just because 10 meters is just that naturally. It just changes as you go higher.
Right. But like 12, 15, 17, they're all small bands.
All small. So But I noticed that it's definitely quieter, this antenna, than other verticals I've ran. There's no doubt about that. But I need to do a bit more testing and some more comparisons, because you know what your curve's like on a quarter wave vertical, even like some 40, it's just really, really flat curve, isn't it? Really low. Where this one is it's a real pronounced dip when you look at it on the antenna analyzer. But that's fine. It covers more than enough of the band that I'm ever going to need to cover.
Just when you do the scan, just put it 100, so it's 50 each way, and it looks really nice and smooth.
Yep.
Right.
So Scott had a question. He dropped this a while back, and you guys don't slow down and breathe too much between all the science going on up there. He wanted to ask you, Colin, have you ever experimented with capacitive hats on the 5/8 wave verticals?
No, but I don't know why you would want to do that. So typically capacity hats are on an antenna to electrically make it longer. So if you have a short vertical and you want to basically cheat it to say that it's longer.
Right.
So I don't
popular on screwdriver antennas. So
I'm not quite sure why you would want to do that on a 5/8 wave, unless you were trying to fool it into a 5/8 wave, but then you would still need to put matching at the base. So I'm not quite sure.
Maybe he was talking like when you're trying to do a 20 meter one to keep it shorter, maybe something like that.
Perhaps, but the problem is we basically cheat our antennas into being the right length, but they're still not physically the right length. So the physics doesn't it doesn't make it any more efficient. And by doing that, it just kind of helps the antenna, maybe helps you get a match. But, if you've got a short antenna, putting a capacity hat on or some sort of loading on it, electrically, it looks right, but it's physically, because it's not right, you're not going to get the same radiation pattern as if it was full size, if that makes sense.
It makes total sense. So, I mean, the thing is like with antennas, hams, we do all kinds of games like that to make something look longer or shorter than it really is. So it's just getting that balance and finding out what you want, right?
Yep. Exactly. That's exactly what it's all about, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just I've and I'll probably do that sometime. But I just like to work with full size antennas. I just think why I'm not kind of restricted by using kind of a lot of short antennas. So I just like to build full size antennas and just work like that and get every little bit of advantage you can get, because now like the bands are wide open and we're working around the world on these tiny little bits of wire. But eventually we're going to go down in the doldrums again. So it's going to be nice to have that antenna that's full size that might give you the edge. So that's the way I look at it.
Well, there's other antennas that you've made that will give you the edge too. I don't want to give everybody a bingo card yet, but we'll work that in eventually.
Yeah, we'll get to that, Chuck.
Because Solar Cycle 25 is it 25, right? Has been ramping since I got into ham radio, and I got to say I can see the difference from when I started and today. I mean, and I've had my license going on 4 years now, but it's a huge difference already.
There you go, boys.
Thank you, Richie.
He needs some milk.
Thank you, Richie.
Richie, thank you, man.
Thank you.
I know all of y'all are dancing along at home with us too.
Yes, we do.
I'm sure.
We know that.
I'm sure.
It's like we can see you. We can see it. It's a
right. Like when I was a kid and Soul Train
YouTube.
was on, we would watch Soul Train and we would line the furniture up, so we had a little aisle to dance down.
Son, I watched Soul Train, but it wasn't to dance. Okay, all right. My mom came. What are you watching? Nothing.
And we would get all worked up about Soul Train when I was a kid.
Soul Train was like
Soul.
Joe Brett said it right.
That's right.
All right. So I have to say I watched your video on your Moxons, how you did your Moxons and the temp poles. And when I rebuilt my hex beam, I definitely went with the temp poles. They work really great, because that's the hard part, is the spreader parts. How to figure out what you're going to use for spreaders.
Exactly, it's the hard part, and it could be the very expensive part as well.
It can.
And you can order these and get them, and they're no good, and you take a chance. So it could be a bit of a gamble, because quite often, like these, cheap poles, you can't always get the same ones twice. That's what I've noticed anyway.
Right.
I
did that with the fishing poles. I ordered 6, and 2 were different than the other 4.
Exactly. But like these tent poles, replacement poles, they're the same everywhere in the world, and they're not going to go away anytime soon, and they're cheap.
Yeah, and you have a couple sizes. There's like a 9, and a 10 something.
Yeah, you get an
2 or
8.
3 or 11.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, you get an 8, you get a 9.5, you get an 11, and I think you get a bigger one again. You're right. I think you're right, Chuck. And what size did you use on your Chucky hex?
I used the 9s. That's like one of the more common ones.
Yeah, that's what this is here. That's a 9.5 actually. Yeah, that's what I used.
And I'm pretty sure that's what they use on the Buddy hex. They call it something else, but if you look at Max Gain, they sell that in longer pieces, and the difference in theirs is the sections are longer. I think they use 3 sections versus with regular temp poles you're going to use 4 at least. That's fine. I mean, it holds up smaller.
Yeah, my 10-meter Moxon, it uses the 8mm poles, and they're absolutely fine. But you know what it's like if you don't actually constrain those wires with it. Like the wires going round about and across. You won't do it. You need to constrain the poles for them to work. But if you do that, no problem using the temp poles.
I'm probably gonna. I've got a plan right now that I've got a.
You got a plan?
I do, man. And my plan is, when I get done with my next hex beam build, it's probably going to be like a 10-minute setup. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to disclose everything right now because I may have to get a patent on this.
You said too much.
Oh, Lord. We're talking.
The lawyer's going to call.
But I'm going to incorporate that. I was looking at today, and one of the parts I'm using, I'm going to incorporate that into another Mox, and it was fast because I only did one band. What?
Yep.
Is your internet's fading? I'm getting some QSB on your internet signal.
Right.
There we go. The Q codes.
Some fading.
So,
good fencing.
If you got any more, you're really into this this 5/8 thing, man. Can you build it now?
Who, me?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I probably. I mean, listen, Colin is one of the best antenna builders and designers making YouTube videos. So definitely, I'm not trying to say that I could do anything like that. But I did a video where I used the Nano VNA to calculate the LC match for me, and then I just showed it on a little proto board how to do it. Definitely am interested in giving it a try. But now you put me on the spot, I do want to ask a question. So I just did some quick math, and I think it came out to 65% is 5/8. But you said you were doing 64 or 62 and a half.
Yes, so I think 62, if I'm right, 62 and a half is exactly 5/8 wave. But I found another design where if you use 0.64, which is just slightly more than 5/8 wave, seemingly that's like the optimum to get that low angle of radiation, is 0.64.
Yeah, I just did the math. It's 62.5 is the straight math, so you 6.4.
Yes. So I've used 64. What difference in the real world, I don't know, but I thought, why not? Why not try it? You know.
Well, the thing is like when we talk about like quarter wave verticals, so like on a 10 meter quarter wave vertical is 2.5 meters, right? It's you know, 5/8 is a lot bigger, right? You're looking around somewhere around 8 meters, and then if you start to look at some of the larger bands, getting a vertical up that high is going to be a challenge. Right?
It is, and that's why I always say to people, you know, the 12-meter spider beam pole is like the pole to get, because it's the one pole that does it all. It's not cheap, but at least you get the backup. If you break a section, you can always get another section for it, and it will do so much, you know.
I think I've got the 10
I don't know
meter.
for us,
it's
the spider beam's not that expensive, to tell you the truth, compared to some of the other ones out there for what you get.
Can we get Randy to pull up the spider beam website?
Yeah.
He could probably do it. Because the spider beam, but a lot of times they're out of stock, though, too.
Yeah, you've got your own distributors across here now anyway, I believe, so you know.
We do. Yeah, we've got a US. Yep. We have a US distributor, so it may be better for us. I know because a 10-meter pole, usually from a lot of places, I won't name any names, but around $100.
Yeah, they're not cheap. They're good poles.
Nothing compared. I mean, they're nice poles. Don't get me wrong, but they're not a spider beam pole.
Well, I guess you want me to go to shopspiderbeam.com?
I don't know, man.
No, go to Fiberglass poles. Is that where you were?
Well, I thought we wanted to go to Spiderbeam.
You're in Spiderbeam right now, right?
Spiderbeam fiberglass poles.
But you're on the European
Well, no, that
side.
went to the German site.
Oh,
we can fix
fine.
that.
We can read German.
There you go.
See?
There you go.
And then bottom right there, maybe. There you go. Oh, yeah. Nice job, Randy.
I do read and speak English.
10 meter. And Colin says the 10 meter is bigger
Randy the
than
credit
the
for
12
Jim's
meter.
work. Randy's asleep over there.
Oh, that's right. Randy's sleeping. How much does it have a price on that?
It's in euros, but that's going to be pretty close to. Well, it's pretty close to dollars. Shut up, Chuck.
Yeah.
He switched the language, not the currency.
I saw you switch it. Oh, just the language.
Yeah, I switched the language. It doesn't switch the
But
currency.
there's a U.S. site,
That's
though.
a Spiderbeam USA.
Spiderbeam USA.
I think it's Fiberglass, to tell you the truth. They bought a bunch of stuff.
Spiderbeam USA. Oh, look, I do have one.
There you go.
Sorry, we should have told you that, Jim.
This is made in Germany.
Yes, it's made in Germany. You said that the 10 meter is actually bigger. The first section is bigger than the 12 meter, huh?
It's a bigger diameter, Chuck, yep. But it's because they've made it smaller, obviously, because it's like a travel pole. They've made it, I think it's like 5 or 6 millimeter bigger.
Than 22 meters, 26 meter pole.
Wow.
That's some big ones.
Yep.
85
It's
feet.
like 100 bone.
See,
Now,
you could probably build something off of that.
I would question how useful the last 5 meters of that pole is going to be. Because I would think
that's
that
85 feet.
I think it's going to be.
If I put that up out back, they call the cops.
That's right.
Well, that would be about the other thing, too, that they would call
probably at 45 feet is still like 2 inches around, huh?
Let's see. Does it give... Here we go, Chuck.
Bottom is 4.
4 1/4 inches for the bottom. Well, that's not very big.
But that's the 80. That's the 85.
That's the big one. Those are really expensive. Those big ones are really expensive.
Hit the 10 meter one there. Back. There you go.
Chuck? Chuck, I got one nerve,
There you go.
man. You standing on top of it. Just
I love the
saying.
10 meter one though. The 10 meter
92
Remember,
bucks.
Jim doesn't have feelings.
That's about the same price as other 10 meter poles. Except
So
Collins
that's-
are pretty reasonable, actually.
That's 2 and
Yep.
that's 66 mils. 2 and 19 30-seconds freedom units
yeah.
on the
So
bottom.
they're, and I think mine has rubber caps, I think, on both ends. My 12
That's
meter.
right.
I think
That's
they
right.
changed that.
Yeah, the tens have got like this molded bit on the bottom,
Screw
but it's
on.
got
Has a sc-
but it's got a screw on, but it's got like a little foam insert in it. So if the pole collapses, it won't shatter off
Yeah,
the bottom.
and
So it's
believe
quite
me,
nice.
They collapse.
Yeah,
They do collapse.
they do. They all do. They all do.
Man, the
unless you
60
secure
the
them.
60-foot one, the 18 meter, that thing is $300.
Yep.
I mean, that's quite a price jump on some of these.
There is when you go from the 12 meter, what's that? It's 139. When you go there to the 18, it takes a big jump.
Yeah.
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 I have the 12. That thing is, I've actually put small Yagis on it.
Definitely. I've had my 20 meter Moxon on that, and it takes it. Oh, okay, not at full height, but put it up about
Right.
5 or 6 sections, and it handles it no problem.
Right.
Now, so like on the DX Commander poles, he provides you with what he calls Jubilee clips. We call hose clamps.
Yep.
Do you use these on your spider beam pole when you deploy it or not?
Typically, when I'm just working portable, I use it's not normal electrical tape, Jim. I use something called Coroplast tape. It looks like electrical tape, but it's got a different type of adhesive, and I basically just tape the joints, and it comes off very, very nicely. Because you really need to watch when taping, like using standard electrical tape to tape up your fiberglass pole sections. When you remove it, quite often you'll remove some of
Tear it
that
off.
coat. You'll
Yeah.
tear it off. You won't do that with Coroplast tape. It's got a different type of coating on it. But I do have Jubilee clips, and I do use that. There you go. There's one there, Jim. So I have got them. But typically, if I'm only operating for the day, the tape, the Coroplast tape's more than good enough. But if
That's
you put
what
it
I
up for
do
any
most
length
of the
of
time,
time,
too.
yeah, any length of time, then you would maybe want to use the Jubilee clips.
So
I've
I've
used gaffer tape on
Right.
My DX Commander pole, which I
Yep.
don't know
Yeah, that
if
stuff's
you guys
great.
what you call that, but I love
Duct
gaffer
tape.
tape.
Duct tape.
Well, no,
No,
this
gaffer's a little different.
Kind of different.
Is it
than
different,
duct
is it?
tape. Yeah,
It's like a
it's
cloth. It's almost like a cloth, and
Isn't
it's
it what the guys-
super easy to peel off.
Ah,
the
okay.
guys that
Okay.
do
It
radio
sticks.
stuff with, right? I mean, they're like
They
concert
do like
stuff. That's one of
theater,
their stuff.
theater, and
Yeah.
music stuff like
Yeah,
that.
they'll tape down cables with it to the floor at a venue.
Yep.
and,
They'll do everything with it.
Yeah, gaffer
So-
tape. Dispose
Another-
of whatever you need to dispose of. Just saying.
Right. So another little tip on when you're out portable, if you put a little bend in your pole,
Cheaper than divorce.
yes, it'll keep it from coming down sometimes
I
too.
kid,
If they're straight up and down, they fall.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't tape them or something unless you really pull them. I hate. I mean, sometimes some of those cheap ones, man. When you pull them, they just come out. But hey, Don wanted to. Oh, do you still have that up, Jim, or not?
Hey, Don, didn't see you sneak in here.
Don wanted to see their little Yagi.
Well, that's not what
For
that
spider.
says. He's asking about clips, but
That's
that
a
must have been
different one.
earlier.
Yeah, spider. Look at. Go back to antennas. You may have to go back.
It's a
Yes,
spider beam.
it's a spider beam antenna. Yeah, it's that far right one there on top. These are pretty cool. These are 3 elements versus they're similar to a Moxon, I guess.
Yeah,
Single
those are certainly in Europe. They're not terrible money for what they are. They're quite comparable in price to like the hex beam, and you can get like the 5-band version or the 5-band version. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. You
That's
get
flat,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. They're flat.
Oh yeah, there's a 5-band one.
And it doesn't have any
So-
pictures, but
Yeah.
But you still have to build that.
You still have to
And that-
build it. Yeah.
And that one's a little more complicated than a
Yeah.
hex beam or a Moxon.
Yep. Yep. I
Now,
think. Sorry, Jim.
are these portable or are these
Yeah.
permanent?
You can use both. You can do both of them, Jim. But basically, the way Spiderbeam works is they like to call themselves like the de-expeditioner's choice. So they basically try and market themselves for like de-expeditions, that type of thing, portable operations, but serious portable operations is what they kind of.
Well, you see the box. It's 3 elements. I think actually some of the bands I think are 4 element, aren't they?
Yeah.
I think some of them are 4 elements. So you're getting quite a bang for your buck there, really.
Definitely. No, they make good stuff, but the hex beam's hard to beat, because it's really you get the whole of every band. You get all of 20 meters on that antenna, which is good. A good SWR.
Now, I used leftover pieces of wire that we had, and mine's a little long. I have to actually. Somebody wanted me to show how to adjust the frequency on it, so I think I'll do a video on that.
That would be good. Yeah,
I'm going to have to do it.
Yeah.
It's the velocity factor that killed me, because our silicone wire is, I guess it's usually everything seems to be a little shorter when you get done with it than regular wire. So there's something with the silicone.
Yeah. So that would be an idea. There's a video for you how to calculate velocity factor of just copper wire. That would be a good video to do, because if you know what your velocity factor is, you can get it absolutely spot on. That would be a good one.
Yeah, and wire doesn't usually tell you that unless you buy it. Like sometimes Dick's Engineering, their wire, they'll tell you what it is. Or coax will tell you what it is, but not always on the wire. And if you're just and I know ours, if it says it on ours, it's so small that I can't read it.
Well, we use like hookup wire and stuff like that, so it's a little bit different, right? Hookup wire is never going to tell you the velocity factor, because I'm sure Matt will tell me I'm wrong, but I don't think you care about velocity factor when you're setting up that kind of system. Yeah, it's really more for RF.
Yeah, they'll give you I think they give you the resistance per kilometer or resistance per meter or something. There's some sort of spec they give you for electrical terms. But they're not going to give you that. But it would be handy to know, instead of making that rough kind of guess, 95 or 90 or whatever it may be.
I know on 40 for it's about a foot difference than other wire that I've used.
Yeah.
But then it matters where you're putting it up over, what ground you're putting it over to sometimes. So
that can have a big effect on it. There you go.
Matt's done a video on that. So
I know for your antennas, you like to use those hydraulic clamps.
Yes.
They're hard to find here. I can't find them in a store anywhere.
Yeah, I always find them online from like hydraulic suppliers, but I found them they're quite reasonable in price here. Like the small ones are like $1 each, literally $1 each, like 87 pence, like for the 8 millimeters or 10 millimeter ones. That's how cheap they are. When you start to get to the bigger diameters, that's when they can come a bit more. But for the small diameter stuff, really, really cheap.
Yeah, for my 6 meter, I've got a LFA that I built. I think actually I watched Matt build his. I watched his videos a lot before I built mine, and they used one for each thing. The problem was with that is it would move too much, so I ended up putting a plate and then put 2 on each one. The driven unit was fine because it had 3 points. I think it actually did 3 points. Yeah, because you split one side and then it had another one. But all the other ones to me were too. They move too much for me. It's just my OCD, I guess.
I like to. Well, I don't buy those ones, Chuck. I buy the ones with. There's one that's actually got a smooth center, so it's completely smooth through the middle. So you don't tend to get that if you're not quite catching them in it.
It's 6 meters. You're pretty wide still. That was in the wind and stuff. It would blow. But when I put 2 of them on there, I dropped it once, so that was my mistake. So when I brought it back down, I used some sign material, some aluminum, and made little plates for each one, and it worked really good.
Yeah,
way more solid now.
I've not advanced to the 3D printing yet. I just don't have the space for one, so that's why I'm still using things like that. But if you're 3D printing, you can certainly do a lot more.
I have printed some out before. But actually, for the small ones, it probably wouldn't take too much to print them. My designing lacks. I mean, if I could get together with Thump one of these days and teach me how to use the program he uses, I could probably do a lot better.
Yeah, because what I was actually thinking about doing was for my hex, because there's a company here in the UK. It's it's like they make plastics and stuff, but you can basically upload your CAD file, and they'll basically like water cut or laser cut your hex beam center, whatever shape you give them, and it's not that expensive. So say you were getting that, all you would need to do is then get your clamps and fit them to it, and you could have all your holes in it, so you could fit like your flanges top and bottom for like the center pole, and it would make a really neat antenna, and it would allow people to maybe make one of these and where they kind of previously wouldn't, because that's what I like to do. The same with you, Chuck. You want people to actually have a go and make these antennas rather than just say, "Oh,
Yeah.
it would be nice, but I'm never going to do it."
Right.
You know.
I'll have to show you what I'm going to do for my next one. It's pretty cool.
Yep.
So, how many you've made? 3 different sizes in your Moxon now?
No, just the 15 and the 10 meter. The 15 is it's okay, but I'm just not happy where the SWR is. The SWR dips at the right place, but it's just not quite low enough. It's still like 1.8, 1.9, so I need to have a look at it and see exactly what's wrong with it. I'm wondering because of the end of the tent poles, because you have the metal section on the end. I'm wondering if it was because that metal's on the end and it's affecting it. So I've changed those over for, I have them here somewhere. Oh, they'll appear somewhere. I've got them here somewhere. But anyway, I've changed over the ends for plastic ends to see if that helps. And then failing that, I'm going to check. Oh yeah, here we go. So here's my 15 meter poles.
Uh-huh.
And you can see normally they have like the metal ends, but you can see on the other end I've used a little bit of plastic pipe, and I'm going to see if that's maybe affecting the SWR, maybe giving it some capacitance or something. But failing that, I'm going to check the distance between the insulators and see if I've got those set to the correct length.
Yeah,
I'll check it.
I was going to say, I changed the bungee cord in mine. Have you using the stock stuff? The stock stuff's so weak. But you're not going that big. But for the hex beam, I was like, this stuff's just kind of wimpy. So
did you use kayaks? The kayaks bungee.
I think I got it from. It was who was it? You mean the brand?
No, I use the stuff they make for kayaks. And I put it
still had to be small. And the stuff I bought, it was like 1/8 stuff. Is that what you're talking about? It was.
Yeah, I guess because the stuff I get still has to go.
No, it won't go in the poles. It still has to go down the middle of the pole.
Gotcha.
Yep.
But I've got 10 and 15, I think, or 17 cut. I just never put it on the. I was going to try and do a multiple band one, but I think the hex beam lends itself better for that.
It does. You get less interaction with the bands than you do on the Moxon, and you can have all the bands. Where on the Moxon they say you can't have neighbouring bands, so like 15 and 17, you can't do that, or 10 and 12, but you can do that. You can do that on the hex beam, so you're as well just going down the hex beam route.
And Don asked about guying. If you're talking about like the hex beam, I did use a tripod.
Yeah.
But for most of my antennas, I've got my stake that I throw on the ground and just throw my pole over it.
Yeah.
And I built some little donuts that fit the pole exactly.
I don't quite use that. I use I do like the I call it everyone calls it the Tracy method, but I've got these Jubilee clips around the pole, and they're not on it with any great tension, so they're not crushing the pole. And basically, I just then guy off the bottom section of the 12 meter pole, and it works really well. And then you can just secondary guy, and that allows you to put
the 12 meter pole is that it closed. That's about 3.5 feet. Is that right?
Yes, that'll be about right. That'll be
one of theirs is like 5 feet or something like that. Collapsed.
Yep. I'm just measuring it for you. It is. There you go. There you go. It's 120.
Whoa. This is a family show. This is a family show, Colin.
There's 2 feet. Yeah. 4 feet. 4 feet exactly. Almost 8.
For the 12?
Gotcha.
Yep.
Yeah, the 12's still fairly small.
Yep.
Yeah, Don, I take the bottom off. You could do it on the outside too, Don. Now, I was told on the Carbon 6, don't do that, but I'm going to try it anyhow. I've got one made for it. I've heard they break. That's a tiny pole. It depends on what you put on it too, right?
I've got the Gigaparts fiberglass mast, the 32. I think it's 32 feet, something like that. I guess is about what it is. It's been in my backyard. I don't know, 3 years maybe, close to 3 years now. When I got it, I put it up, and what I did is I just tied it to this the swing set. Now it's a wooden swing set, so I shouldn't get any too much interference from it because it does have chains on the swings and stuff. But it's been out there, it's been tied up to that thing, and I used the thing that you drive on, like the flagpole that you put your tire on in your car at the bottom of it, and man, the thing's been out there, like I said, 3 years, never had any problems or anything with it.
Yeah, my 9-to-1 random wire is on that same kind of mast. That same mast.
Is that the one with the clamps?
Yes.
The clamp where they clamp down. I like those.
Yeah.
And I got.
Well, I got to tell you though, one time you might be undoing the mast, like the clamp, and it'll, if you don't do it right, it'll come down and get your finger.
Yeah.
And, and that's not fun.
Yeah, mine's been sitting out fastened to the side of the shop, where the air conditioner mount is outside. And I've just got paracord holding the mast.
Mine's just paracorded on there.
And the end is sitting inside of a brick, so it's not.
So those are fiberglass?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's really easy to get put up and down. So it's like just switch your antenna and stuff like that.
How tall are they, though? They're pretty tall.
It's like 32, 33 feet, something
10
like that.
meters.
10 meters,
all the way down. Collapsed.
10 or 12 meters.
Collapsed, it's like 5.5 feet. I mean,
yeah, pretty tall.
So not a lot of and it's heavy. To me, it's not something. I guess you could throw it in the bed of the truck or something like that. But if I had to stick it in my Jeep, poking out the top or something, I don't. Like I said, I got it. I put it up in the backyard. I've never taken it anywhere. If I go anywhere, I take the Spider Beams 10 meter, which is again, that is a really really nice.
You don't want to throw that one in a backpack though. That's for sure.
With the Spider,
the Spider Beam 10.
No.
Colin, Craig has a question about matchboxes. Did we kind of covered that a little bit, but
it depends what he's wanting to build, I guess, So that's kind of difficult question. So it depends what type of antenna he's wanting to make or what length of antenna he wants to make, and I can maybe be a bit more specific. But when I build a lot of my boxes with these are basically 4x4x2s, and these are not expensive. These are like $3 or $4, literally. Yeah. And there's an even cheaper one, which is like these. There's other. I think these are slightly small, but these are like less than $2. So if you make them,
come with the fittings on the side, or did you have to add? It was just
no. Unfortunately, you've got to buy them. But what they do come with is the 4 screws are stainless steel screws, funnily enough, so they never rust. So that's really quite good.
I've got one too that has like a plastic screw that's like just a couple.
So these are, Chuck. Yeah, that's what these are.
Cool.
And weather
really good.
sealed.
Yeah, they're weather sealed. And I think literally these are like £3, 3.5 UK pounds are like $4.
Yeah.
And they're really thick. If you see the wall thickness on these, you could drop these and you're not going to break them. They're really sturdy.
Yeah, something like that, I would never want to 3D, even mess with 3D printing that. I'd just go buy those.
It's not worth it.
All day.
No, it's not worth it.
It's crap.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, my last video I put some links for these, but yeah, they're really cheap, and I don't need things to be tiny to go inside of a backpack, so I just make them out of those, and they're cheap, and then you can make all sorts of antennas. Yeah.
You use the work van, huh?
I sold it, Chuck. It's gone.
Oh, did you?
Gone. The little van's gone. Yeah, the little van's gone. It was getting a bit too long in the tooth. It was a Transit Connect. I think you guys had them there as well, didn't you? Transit Connect.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was great. I loved it. But yeah, it was a 2006, so it was just getting a little bit too old. And we have something
like Chuck.
Yeah, and we have something in this country that you guys don't, and it's called rust. And it affects every.
Some places do.
We don't have rust in Alabama, but Sparky up there, Wisconsin,
Arizona, California is pretty good for non-rust, but some of other places.
It's colder here than it is where you are, Colin.
Yeah, well, Jim, how far are you from the coast, right? Because I would imagine that coastal Alabama has a little bit of a rust issue, right?
Oh, they do. I'm 170 miles from the water.
Enough.
Yeah.
Okay, so your boat, you get a lot of use out of that boat, I take it then.
At the giant ass lake that's right up the road 30 miles. Yes,
it's lake boat, man. He's just jamming you up, man.
I know.
Boats.
I know. That's how he is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you don't
I
want to
mean-
buy cars from Wisconsin
Or Chicago.
or Chicago.
No,
You
especially a
guys,
Ford.
you guys still use
Worse.
salt for the roads
Yeah.
too? Well, that's
Yeah.
bad.
Some counties use pure salt. Some counties use salt mixed with sand to basically
Yeah.
make it cheaper. But yeah, we still use it. I actually have one at the end of my drive. Right at the end of my drive, I've got a grit box full of
Everybody
salt.
likes to complain about the rules in California, but that's a great rule because I don't think we're allowed to use salt in California for the road.
Yeah.
We only have.
Yeah.
I mean, it's only in the mountains here anyhow. I mean,
Yeah.
Alabama does not. It may be in North Alabama because it does snow up in the Huntsville area. But yeah, down here the county has sand.
Yeah.
And they go out and throw sand on the road if it's going to
And I
be
think-
ice.
I think sand will have
potential.
some in it sometimes, maybe.
I've been here
Yeah.
almost 40 years, and it snowed that I can remember, and that stayed for more than 20 minutes, like 5 times in 40
Yeah.
years. So
And yet you still drive a truck.
I drive a truck because I'm a grown ass man, and that's what I want to drive.
Oh.
No regret.
Yeah.
I do what I want.
I like my truck. So I
wanna
found
drive a
you,
Honda.
Colin, when you made your Adjustawave. I thought that was like because I was already looking at. You said you hadn't seen the one from
No, not at the time. I didn't know.
at the time, but very similar. That thing works great. I don't always take it out and set it up because it's
No.
mine's a little. I mean, you got to have 2 hands on the thing. If you had 2 people, it'd be
Yeah.
easier because
Yep.
that stainless steel wire will unravel on you, and then you have a
Yeah.
mess.
Yeah, I use I put pre-tension it with almost some spring washers, which helps Chuck.
Yeah.
But I still use that antenna. It's if
I still
can
get
go on it-
questions on how you
Yeah.
made it.
Yeah, if I go portable, I'll go and use it. So I don't talk about it. I don't show it too much, but it's great to show in the back of the car. And if you go, because you can just use it on any band. You know what I mean? So
Right.
it's still a great antenna to use.
And somehow I had missed your extra stub in there, and I added that for. So what I usually when I set it up, it's usually set on 40 on the
Yep.
on the Adjustawave, and then
Yep.
20 goes up, and I just
Yep.
hang 20. I don't remember how I do it. It's been a while, but that's a great antenna too. That's some good ingenuity there. People keep asking me, and it's been so long since I built it. I'm like, oh man, I don't remember how I did that.
That was a long time ago. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. But I've
So-
still got like half a dozen here that I built here lying about the.
Yeah, you
lying
were
about the
selling those
garage here.
for a while, right? You still selling them?
No. I mean, it was literally just to pay back the R&D. I spent so much money on that antenna. I don't even want to total up what I actually spent on that in the beginning. The amount of things that I bought and didn't use and throw away. Honestly, I
I
spent
set mine up on that spider beam. I set
Yep.
mine on the 12-meter spider beam. It worked great.
Yep.
When you get into ham radio, there's always some guy. It's like, oh, you should build your antennas. It's so much cheaper. And it's like, well, I could go buy an off-center fed dipole for $75,
No.
or I could build one for $275.
Well,
uh,
it's like the DX Commander. I mean, you can build that absolutely,
Sure.
and it's not like
Can't
it's
beat
a
his
secret
price.
design, but you
Yep.
can't beat his design and his parts and his R&D that he's already done, and you don't have to fool with.
You just got to be good.
Yeah,
with
I mean,
the
if you're
grinder,
building something
man.
like dipoles or something
Yep.
like that, then it's obviously a very easy, cost-effective way
Right.
and a great way to get started.
I mean, it's certainly cheaper for me to build now, but that's because I'm buying components in bulk. I mean, you buy components in bulk and you've always got them
Right.
round about you. It works out a lot cheaper.
Right.
But if you just
Right.
want to build one thing, the time you add on the postage costs, it isn't, because postage is the killer. You know?
Yeah, well, the other one is like the tools. So, like, I managed to go
Yep.
45 years with a cheap pair of wire crimpers.
Yep.
And in the last 5 years, I've bought like 7 different seven different crimpers.
Yep.
Now that you're actually crimping, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I would crimp stuff before, and I would the whole time like, this thing sucks. I hate it. Bad. You get more of my needle nose.
Car stereos don't count.
I use
Yeah.
my vice grip. I use my vice grips for crimping for a long time.
But I tell you, good
Yeah.
crimpers. Hey, Crockett. Yeah, good crimpers are a lifesaver. They're fantastic. They're the right tool for the right job. Makes it a million times easier.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Never cheap out. Well, you can cheap out. You can get cheaper crimpers, but always get the right ones for it.
Get ratcheting crimpers for the love of all
Like
that
these.
is holy.
There you go, Jim.
Yes,
A pair of those.
that's right.
That's what I use.
That's right.
Those. And these are just cheap ones, but they've never failed me. Never failed me.
Yeah,
And they're
I
Ain't
finally
no
bought
shame.
some.
Ain't no shame in that.
They're not miscalibrated.
And they're crimping.
Yep.
You know? Is that calibrated?
You know, those neural ones we got, or feral ones the ferals.
Yeah.
Those are
Feral,
you can
yeah.
adjust those. I've never done it, but
Yeah, the ones that go up like that. Yeah.
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 those work
Those are
really good. If you guys are making antennas, those work really good for doing your ends of your antenna. You do your loop, run it back through, and then crimp it and throw some heat shrink
Yeah.
over it, and you got a real nice.
These are really good tools because they have like wire strippers on here that work really, really well.
Yep.
And then you can also just score the insulation and then, peel it off with your hands. But they also have like a little bit of like teeth here for like a little plier action.
Mm-hmm. I use
But
that.
I
all the time.
hate crimping on this side of the, I don't know what you call it, the lever, the apex,
You have no.
the joint.
no
You don't have
leverage.
the leverage that you
All
need,
right, leverage.
and you really got to give it a grip. So these kind of stuff, that's no good.
Yeah.
Crimp it like a man, Abe.
I
Bite
was
it.
trying. These are the ones I used earlier. I had to do some power
There you go.
pole action.
And those are invisible.
Yeah, they're invisible.
Yeah, they're hard to find in the dark. But these
Okay.
Oh, he froze
and
up.
gone.
He's frozen up again.
And he's
All
going.
right, you take him down, Randy. Take him down. Come on, Randy.
He's out of here, man. He's out
Come
of
on,
here.
Randy.
Whew.
Not that
Hey,
that's any better, but okay.
you know
All
it
right.
was.
Hi.
Oh, he's back.
So
Oh, shit.
I was getting some
Okay.
QSB on my internet.
I think you had some QOM on your internet.
Yeah. So, you have any new projects that you're thinking about that you can talk about, or
I've got an old one. I've still got like the variable length half square / variable length end fed half wave. I need to get that out. I don't know where that is. I've got that about here somewhere.
And he's gone again.
He did
I'm
that.
gone.
I haven't touched nothing.
There you go. Which is this. So it's like the end fed half wave, but I've got two of the reels on it, and then I still need to fit the fishing line to it. So this will be like a variable length end fed half wave / half square antenna, and it'll be like a half square for 40 meters up. So it could potentially be a half square that's been multi-banded, or I might just want to do a half square for 20 meters. But there's a lot of wire on here because obviously for 40 meters, what do you need? It's like a 2 quarter waves and a half wave, isn't it? Something like that. It's a full wavelength. You need
Yeah,
a
it's a
wire
lot.
here.
yeah, because you go, it's like 3 times.
Now,
Yeah,
how,
so
high
I-
do you
you
need
go
to, how
across.
high do you need to get that to be
It's a
effective?
quarter wave. I think it is. It's a quarter wave.
10
Well,
meters.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're supposed to be
That's-
off the ground a little bit.
That's doable, I guess.
So I'll do it with this. I'll do it with
5,
the
6 feet.
Yeah, I'll do it with the 2 spider beam poles, and that'll be fine because that'll get them
Yeah.
up that kind of 6 feet. But I just can't get round to it. But it's one of these things I need to get out. The wire's already fitted. I just need to get like the non-conductive wire fitted and get that tried out.
There's
Because that'd be a good project.
One guy on YouTube that tested it and didn't think there was any difference, but that's not what I found out. I mean,
Yeah.
I was into South America. I could hear the guy on my doublet, and I could hear him on my half square, and it was like 4S units difference.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the doublet kills it anywhere like local.
Yeah.
So there's definitely a difference. I don't know what he was testing.
I mean, why would people build these big towers with big Yagis if they were only 1 or 2 dB better? The reality is these big antennas are much better and they're multiple ice points better. You've got a tower, Chuck. You would know the difference. You know what I mean? You've got a tower there, haven't you, with a tri-bander on it?
Oh yeah, that thing's I don't if I'm doing 10, 15, or 20, I don't do my anything.
He needs some milk.
Thank you, Phil.
Thanks,
Phil,
Phil.
Phil.
appreciate it, buddy. We got the Phil Army in here this morning too, because we got
We
Phil
sure
Brawl
do.
and Phil Muth in here.
Phil keeping
Bunch
the
of
lights
Phils.
on.
We got Phil
So
squared.
yeah, if I do 10, 15, or 20, I don't use my doublet usually, unless I use it for a comparison or and sometimes it might do better. I mean, for
Yeah.
quick, because sometimes you got to turn it. You gotta
Exactly.
turn your. Most of the time, I just run mine northeast, and that covers pretty much all the U.S. and it'll get me into Europe sometimes.
Yep.
Actually, yesterday morning before I left for the yurt, I was listening around 20, and the guys were going long path. They love to say long path to South Africa, and I was picking up the guy in South Africa.
Yep.
That was on my little ELAD. I don't know if I would have. I cleaned up so much on that thing that I could hear the guy. It wasn't real strong for me.
Yep.
But the guys that are doing that, they're on like 6 elements.
Chuck turned on preamp 7.
Yeah.
It doesn't even have. It doesn't need preamps. That thing's.
I think we need to add ELAD to the bingo words too.
Yeah, we probably do need to make a bingo card.
Or
Again.
flex when Jim flexes his flex there.
Is that all you use now, Jim, is the flex?
Did you get the hat yet?
I have not got a dang hat. Mike Walker. I'm going to call him out. Michael Walker. Mm-hmm.
Mike's so
Well,
nice.
you can roll up on him at
I'm going to go in hot.
right
and
and be
him
like,
bitching.
what up, son? Where my hat at, boy?
Hat on it. That's right.
Yeah, he better have it in his hand when you show up, right?
Right. I would just be like, look, don't make me do something because I will.
I have mostly only used the flex in the last month or two.
Oh.
The 7610 is getting kind of dusty, honestly. I don't know. See me go.
The only thing I'm
there we
regretting is
go.
I wish this thing had at least 50 watts.
Well, the flex does.
I know.
Yeah. But do you know that guy that you worked, Chuck, on your Chucky Hicks video? You know Lou? You know the guy in Barcelona that you worked, eh?
Yeah.
Well, that guy is like 6 or 7 kilohertz wide to us in Europe, and he just covers the whole of the band that he's on. He's unbelievable. So I don't know what he runs, but but it's unbelievable. Like he's famous. He's famous in these parts. Like.
Oh yeah. I was actually surprised I picked him up because he had a pretty good pileup. It was just good for me that day, I guess. That park out there where the park I tested is not the greatest place. It's just, I mean, it's surrounded by mountains and stuff, hills, but they're pretty taller than anything in Texas, I guess.
I think it's impressive because somebody did it. I can't remember who the guy was, but he basically worked out the difference between guys on the east coast of the States and the guys on the west coast, and if they're working over to Europe. And there's something like 30 plus dB difference of attenuation going across the land than if you're on the east coast of the States. Because it's relatively easy for us to work, just that straight hop across the pond.
Right.
But for us to work in the Midwest and the West Coast, you really need conditions to be good to actually work into California and Arizona and such.
Yeah. For contests and stuff, because you get the doublers and all that stuff for Europe. And there's way more people in Europe that do the contest. Those guys I had a buddy that he had half of my contacts, but because of all his doublers, his score was like 3 or 4 times what I got.
Yeah.
And I don't really contest. That was the only time I really sat down for any more than a couple hours. And I depleted everybody I could hear. So I was happy with that.
But yeah, that's where all the superstations are in the States. They're all just lying right down that East Coast. That's where they like to go, the Carolinas and everything, That's
my buddy Gary gets to go up and work one of the big contest stations. I think it's in Ohio. It's either he's in Indianapolis, but I think it's in Ohio, and it's just I would love to go there someday. He actually drove me by one day to show me one of the contest stations they had. It was pretty impressive.
Yeah,
we didn't get to go in. We just saw the antennas, But
Yep. No, it'd be nice to give it a go. A bit different to wires.
I'd love to hook up a 4-square, but that's a lot of space.
It's a lot of space.
One. And then I'd have to have you hook up all my switches and stuff for me.
and it takes a long time. It takes a long time because I need to get back to the phase verticals. The phase verticals is another thing, but it's not something you can just set up in half an hour and use it. You need to set it up, and it's really a lot of tweaking to actually get that thing singing. You need to leave it for months or weeks at a time.
If I can find it, some guy sent me. He did a lot of experimenting with the phasing.
Yeah.
And distances, because you can by changing your distance and your verticals, you can change how good the front to back is and how good the out is. And he had a whole chart of it. I don't know where it's someplace in my computer.
Yeah, Justin KG2RG, he's got a YouTube channel, and he built phased verticals for 20 and 40, and his front to back is just unbelievable. It's like 30, 40 dB. The guy's just completely, he loses them. He's just
That's
unbelievable.
That's better than most Yagis.
Yeah.
I've talked to guys I talked to a guy in Hawaii when I'm northeast, and he's, maybe I'm going the wrong path.
Yeah. Maybe. Yeah, interesting stuff. No matter.
I could hear that guy in South Africa where I was supposed to point, and then I turned it 180 out, and I was getting in there too. Actually, better.
Yeah.
It was quieter. It was quieter. Maybe that's why they do the long path. I don't know.
And also, if you've got a beam, sometimes it's skew path, so you think you're right on them, but then you just move it off to the side of them, and then they're actually stronger. So that's different again.
I just usually account that I didn't get it quite north the first time.
Ape, that sounded like a round earther trying to move in.
I'll let the kids play.
So we're working on a new antenna too, Colin.
All right.
I got the parts coming. It's basically a 9-to-1.
Yeah.
Which I can't believe we haven't already done it because we had all the stuff for it except for the wire, some of the wire.
Yeah.
Well, I've been
That's
lazy
Ape's
about it.
favorite.
Yeah, because like I rolled a bunch of these little 9-to-1s. I know Colin doesn't like these cores. This is the
No.
FT140.
No. Got some here somewhere.
43, but I've got like 6 of these wound up, ready to try. So maybe I'll get a video done on that. So I did want to ask you about the cores. I looked up that one that you're using. I think it ends in 1000. Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, that one.
So my first question is, and when you're doing an end-fed half wave, are you using that same 18 gauge magna wire on that? Or?
Yeah. Yep.
Because we use like a 16 gauge, and I don't see getting the same amount of wraps on there.
Yeah. No, I can get enough wraps. So yeah. No, it's. I mean, yeah.
Just want you to wiggle, guys.
Thanks, Winnie.
Thanks,
He
Victor.
needs some milk.
And Brian.
I don't have one handy here, Ape, or I'd actually open it up and actually let you see it.
But those jokers are not cheap. I'll tell you that right now, because I would look them up. They're about $950 a roid.
They were when I bought them. They were just marginally cheaper than a 240-43, but not by much. They were cheaper. But from what I hear, everyone seems to be buying them now.
Yeah, they were sold out almost everywhere that I looked, and so that might have been what was driving the price.
Yeah, because when I was buying them in the early days, you could buy as many as you want, but people tell me that they're getting popular, and so they should, because I think that you can run I can run 100 watts digital modes, no problem at all. I can run FT8 for hours and hours on end, and I won't put that thing in. I won't basically heat that thing up enough to put it into Curie point, where I would do that if I was running a 240-43.
So I use the 140, and I usually get about an hour and a half of digital modes out here. But when I run digital modes, I usually run around 80. Yeah, that thing looks great.
Yeah, there you go.
Now, so Colin, you run those at a 15.
Let's see that again.
See that again? There you go. Oops.
I can tell you who didn't wind that. I'm just saying.
I could too. We won't say it though.
Mm-hmm. So that's a 56-to-1. So that's a 2-core primary and 15-core secondary. And you need to do that because the SWR on 40 meters just doesn't quite go low enough with a 214 turn, the standard 49-to-1. And I tried the 64 as well, but the sweet spot's actually the 56-to-1 with this core anyway.
Really clean construction on that.
Yeah.
And then also you're using the TKD capacitors on there. Right?
Yes. Yep.
You have a video where you explain the part numbers and all that stuff on there.
Yep.
I believe. Okay.
Yep. I think those TDK capacitors are actually hard to get a hold of now as well. People have been telling me they've been struggling to even get those. Because when I bought mine, I couldn't get the ones with the, typically your components have got the really long legs, but these have actually got the short legs, which are fine.
Actually, I may have a bunch of those, to tell you the truth.
It's the same capacitor, it's just got short legs, but which is fine.
Do you happen to have the part number on that?
Of the TDK? Yeah.
Get him full screen.
Get me full screen and I'll put it up. There you go. So it ends in JYNNA. So there we go. Let's see if this will zoom. There you go.
Those look like the ones in my my sprinkler.
We can't say that out loud.
Awesome, Colin.
There you go. Got that? Cool.
Yeah.
No, that's the ones to get.
Those look like the ones on my sprinkler controller that I tore apart.
Yeah.
Matt said they're harder to find even the genuine ones.
Yeah.
But the thing is that all of those little components add up, right? And then it can end up making a big difference in terms of efficiency on your antenna.
The guy that I got the idea from, this Evo Layer Electronics, he actually tested some capacitors, and a lot of the eBay ones and Amazon ones are just pure junk, absolute rubbish. And he tested the TDK ones. Yeah. So funnily enough, Jim, who would have thought?
I'm shocked.
Yeah. So I've had these for like over a year, and I think they were dirt cheap. So I bought 150 because that was like the minimum amount I needed to buy. So
right, the shipping's $15. The shipping's $15 whether you buy 5 or 500 of them, right?
And that's,
Exactly.
and that's why building a lot of stuff by yourself. Oh, I can build a DX Commander. Is buying parts. Like that, because it's really hard to buy one of any of that stuff.
Yeah, but I always just buy typically I'm buying from DigiKey, and it comes from the States anyway. And if I spend £35, it's free express UPS shipping, which doesn't make sense to me, but it's great. So if you're prepared to spend £35, $40, then you get the free shipping, and you can get a lot of good stuff. So that's typically how I do it. I just wait a while, and then I just bulk buy as and when I need, and get from the States, either from DigiKey or from Mouser, much the same prices. Just depends on what you buy. They're sometimes one's cheaper than the other.
Well, for our boards that we're doing, we've ordered parts from Mouser and Adafruit. I don't think I checked DigiKey for the little jacks. Those things are a pain in the ass to find right now.
Yeah,
but
and it's the orientation of the of the stubs on those jacks is the stickler there, right, Jim?
Yeah. So on the I don't have one in here. So you got the round barrel of the jack, and then this is a weird looking visual, and then you have the one of the ring in the sleeve, or the tip in the ring leads here, and then you have a big fat ground lug on the bottom. And you got to have it like that, because what's going to happen is the board that slides over the edge of that board like that. And if you don't get them oriented that way, you're not going to be able to solder it down.
Jim has no feelings. Did you see that? no feelings at all.
I don't have feelings.
Yeah.
He's very bitter about not having feelings.
I'm just crotchety anyway. I'm just naturally crotchety.
Who are you calling bitter?
I'm not bitter. You shut up, you big stupid head.
But you're talking about that 9-to-1 there, Ape, and I do want to try a 9-to-1, because it's something I've never done, but I do actually want to try a 9-to-1, and I want to check the losses and see if I can do the comparison, do the back-to-back check, and see how much kind of losses you get with that 9-to-1. Obviously, you've got your mismatch, because you're going to have a mismatch anyway with your impedance, but yeah, I'm actually warming up to a 9-to-1, so I'll probably give it a go.
They say that a 9-to-1's around 70%, 75% efficiency.
That's still all right.
Yeah, and infed half waves around 85 for a good one. I know you have that big old sheet. I'm like, what kind of paper is this guy printing on?
That's the trick. I never print it out. It's just a massive Excel sheet.
Thank you, Digital Rancher.
Digital Rancher, thank you. Great guest this morning.
Oh, thank you.
Digital, appreciate it, buddy.
Yeah, I don't know that I've ever thrown any of my other 9-to-1s on a analyzer before, but I just built one the other day for us, and I had like at least 3 bands that were totally usable with no tuner. And that's probably normal, but I don't think I've ever checked that before. I just always said, hey, you got to use a tuner.
I almost never even scan them, because the thing is that you're using a tuner anyway. So
right. But I had like 3 bands, like 1.5-to-1 or less.
Yeah, I have one that I use with a 35-foot. It might be 35.5-foot element, and it's 1-to-1 on 40 fantastically, but nowhere else.
Yeah, I was very. I mean, there's, in fact, the bands that are good on it are a lot of bands that people will use for POTUS. So if you might tweak it just a little bit. I think we did 41 feet and 17 feet.
Yeah, we did 41.
Don was asking if you've ever used any aero electronics, Colin.
I haven't at all. No, is that just a thing in the States? Aero electronics? I've never heard of them. Yeah.
I don't know what that is.
No.
I haven't
Yeah,
used them either.
there's,
I know about Mauser and DigiKey.
There's junction boxes you put up. That's a UK site.
Okay. Yeah, that's right.
So they
Unfortunately, but they're I think they're actually made in Italy.
Hey, Rod.
I think I think a lot of these enclosures. Who was talking about Italy at the beginning of the stream? But yeah, a lot of these enclosures are molded there. I've no idea where the other ones come from. But I mean, an enclosure's an enclosure. You know, they're all coming from China. You know, they're all coming
Right.
from, end of the day.
Pretty much. I found some
Yeah.
pretty nice ones.
I need a ultra low noise, ultra high PSSR 40 VIN
Like these right here.
U modulator.
Yeah, there you go, Chuck. Yeah, exactly.
These are right off of Amazon. Anybody wants a link, I can could see if I can find.
What size is that? Is it? Oh, that's a
This
little
is-
thick. That's probably 4x4x3.
It's a little. It's
Yeah.
about that.
That's a chunky boy.
Yep.
Here.
That's bigger than a standard junction box.
Yes.
At least
Well,
height-wise.
I use these for that adjuster wave. I think is what I bought these for.
Yeah, those are better because they're slightly wider, actually, Chuck.
They're about 4x3. Yeah,
Yep. No, those are
they
good.
were a little smaller than the ones you used, and then I used the
Yeah.
the smaller reels on them. I was trying to keep it fairly small. It fits in a nice little
Yep.
Craftsman bag.
Yep. No, I
It's
didn't do much the
pretty
same.
compact. Pretty compact
Yeah.
antenna, really, for what it does.
Once you get it down, it can come to size, and you can actually shorten the you know how I use the tent poles for those, so you can basically I've actually cut those in two again, put another couple of ferrules, and then put the bungee cords through the middle, so I can even fold them over again. So I use that for my portable kit. So it makes it takes those, they're only about a foot long, those poles, when they're folded over, and you can get them down the side of that good bag, the one I bought after you got, Chuck. You know that backpack. I can fit everything in there. No problem at all with the radio and stuff.
Soon.
Yep,
Gonna be
that's a
using
great
that for
bag.
dating.
That was a great shout.
Yeah, that one's actually good for the 705 because it'll fit right in top.
Right in the top.
And you
Yeah,
can adjust, and you can adjust that to a height inside too, so it's kind of nice.
exactly. That's real good.
Well,
Chuck,
yes, sir.
it's getting time.
I know. I was just getting ready to say that. Colin, it's been great having you here again.
Yes,
and we're going to
thank you for
have you
having me.
again.
Yeah.
because you can always have something.
Anytime.
If
Anytime.
you, like you said, guys, if you haven't checked out Colin's channel, if you're really into building stuff like antennas and stuff, Colin's he goes into.
He's the guy.
pretty good.
Yeah, it's definitely check it out.
He doesn't cheap out either. Sometimes I'm just throwing pieces together I find in my
Oh, I
house.
don't know about that, Chuck. No, you don't. No.
Maybe next time we have you on, Colin, it'll be a little warmer there too.
I hope
Yeah.
so. I hope
where
so.
are you,
wish it was-
where are you,
I
where
wish
are
it was
you
that warm.
located?
So, I'm about five. Well, what would they be? I'm about 5 miles west, exactly west of Edinburgh Airport, or probably about
Okay.
15 miles west of Edinburgh.
Okay.
So I'm basically right in the central belt. So I'm right in
Yeah.
the kind of middle of the country, which is where like 85% of us live in Scotland. You know, you've got Glasgow and Edinburgh, and everyone stays here,
Right.
and then
So-
the rest of them are spread
So
out.
when I fly in, you're just 5 minutes away from picking me up. Then, huh?
Literally,
Perfect.
Chuck. That's fine.
Chuck,
Yeah,
I don't know if the
I love
UK
it.
government's going to let you in the country though, because of that thing.
Scott,
Right.
maybe he's a new guy.
I got
Give him
that.
some
I got it
slack.
fixed.
Give him some
I got it
slack.
fixed.
Yeah, and
not gonna stick
Edinburgh
around for
Airport's
long.
Edinburgh Airport's like the main one now. Like Glasgow used to be the biggest airport, which is like an hour from me. But yeah, Edinburgh Airport's literally 10 minutes in the car, and I'm there. So
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
that's the one I go to.
Road trip.
I have
Yep.
two
All right, we'll see you
airports.
soon.
Colin.
I have two airports close to me, and I prefer one over the other, especially if I'm picking people up.
Yep.
Stay away from
All
John
right,
Wayne
well,
Airport.
we've
All
come
right,
to the end of
thank you.
another awesome show, guys. I appreciate
Yeah.
everybody being here today.
Great
And let me hit the thumbs
Adam
up
Dennis.
first.
Adam Dennis
Adam,
showed up
is he
right as
here?
we're leaving.
Yeah, you had to
He
look at
just
it
rolled
later,
out
I
of
guess.
bed. Must have been sipping that bourbon.
Charles, before you hit the button, we
Yes,
got
sir.
sticker packs in stock. Sticker packs are in stock, limited supply. Get yours while they're hot. We still have
Y'all missed the
tumblers in
sale.
stock.
We might do a sale again, but it'll be a while.
What's still on sale? I thought we were
Oh,
still
you didn't
in-
change that? Don't.
No,
Dang it.
You can't get good help these days.
you said let it.
know.
No, he said let it ride. I can go
Yeah,
find
yeah,
it.
yeah.
then.
I'll go find the one
All
where we
right.
said, "Yep."
Well, thanks for being here, everybody.
Bye,
Thank
guys.
you, everyone.
Don't
Thank
Thanks,
you,
forget-
everybody.
everyone.
Had a great time.
Like playing
All right.
cars with my brother's
everyone.
kids.
Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
I'm going to try.
In Nebraska, not yet. da, da, da.
I've been nursing this coffee. It's getting a little chilly in here. I need
Oh, you know what?
to rewarm that.